another video by Bello's Designs. This is Linda, and today I'm going to be making the card called Airmail. Sending lots of love through the air. You need an A2 card base, and this one flips up. You need obviously a card front, and on the mat you don't necessarily need it. You can if you'd like. If you do, you might want to cover up the black dots that are cut out, and you would just need it 1/8 of an inch smaller than your final card front size if you do that. I use Nina cardstock in 297 GSM. That means it's a heavier card, so it takes water really well. I'm going to be using this, excuse me, Lavinia Leaf Trails stencil, and this awesome stamp here is by also Lavinia Open Dandelion, and she's going to be the star of our show. You can use any sentiments you want. I'm using Say It With Stamps by Photoplay, and I really like this X's and O's stamp, but you can use whatever you like. It doesn't matter. And also I'm going to be using by Waffle Flower this die set. It's a Postage Collage die set. This particular one is for the A2 card size. And oh yeah, excuse the bright reflections there. And if I sound a little strange on the recording, it's because I got a cold. But we're going to get through this. We can always get through anything with creative therapy. So ready? Let's go. Okay, I'm going to be using this Waffle Flower mat, and since I'm going to have it on a glass top, I want to do this special little trick where I flip it over, spray it with water, and then flip it back over and press it down. And this is to prevent it from sliding around. It holds it real nice. So there you go. There's your tip for the day. All right, now we're stenciling. And I've got the stencil over the cardstock front. And I'm using Tim Holtz brand Oxide inks. These inks are amazing. I'm using them in Worn Lipstick and Velvet Pink. I just go back and forth between the two colors. There's no rhyme or reason for this. I just want it to be a real pretty blend of the two colors. You can use whatever colors you want, but I just go back and forth in small circular motions to blend it real nice on the paper. And I'm using a blending brush to do this. So when it's all done, you're going to have this real pretty leafy backdrop. And there it is. It's all done except for the edging, which is what we're going to do now. Now, here I'm trying to figure out which colors I want because I'm wanting to give it a slight vintage look. And I've finally picked out some gathered twigs, and also there's a vintage photo for another color, and walnut stain. These three colors are beautiful. They're my favorites. I use them a lot. I don't see many people picking up their cardstock to lay down the color when it's on the edge like that. I usually see them work off the edge and come in. I just prefer holding it up, and I get texture that way, some lines, but that's exactly what I wanted. So now we're moving on to the stamping, and I'm using my Misti platform, and this inside is the really nice sticky mat. It's got a grid on it, and you're gonna love it. And you can put your work down on it without using any magnets or tape, and it holds it in place for you. It is truly a game changer, as I have said before. Excuse me. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get out, like I said before, the star of the show, and she's going to be stamped on here first. And my first card, I had her in the corner as I'm setting her up right now. And then I brought in the die as I'm taking that out of the package. because you can use it as a guideline to find out if that is truly where you want your stamp to be. You might like it and you may not. You may decide on something different. I turned mine upside down, showing that you could have it that way, or you could turn around and have it this way. I wanted to have it this way, and after I placed it, just to see, I could tell I did not like her being there in the corner after all. I decided to take on a whole different idea and put her right smack dab in the middle. Now I'm checking again to see how the cuts will happen in this kind of a stamp, and I really like it. I like it a lot. So this is what I decided to work on for this particular card. And so I'm going to remove the die, of course, because I don't need that right now. I'm going to grab my stamp from my platform, and I grab my Versafine black ink. This ink pad is wonderful for doing fine details. I really love it. And so I put the ink down, and I'm just going to press here lightly. And I realized I didn't press quite enough, so I did it again, and I got her just the way I wanted her. I'm using a kind of spatula tool now to lift my work up like a cookie. If you like cookies like I do, then this is a really helpful tool. Now let's die, and here it is. You see all the edging work I've done is now off. It's been cut away, but that's okay. We could just re-ink it, and it helped me figure out the placement of everything. That's why I did that. As you can see, I'm re-inking. I'm just bringing those same colors as before in. And I usually keep my darkest colors in the corners. And I usually go from a light to a dark, but sometimes that can change up. But here I have gone light to dark. And I'm using the foam applicators. Now I'm going to place a couple more stamps in my platform, because I want the X's and O's up here in this square, and the little twirly bird, I don't know what you call it, part of the dandelion, that one's also in there too. To have contrast, I'm grabbing my Versafine Clair ink in the Chianti color. It's a very pretty wine color, and I'm going to do both of the stamps in that. If you get any extra ink where you don't want it, just wipe it off with a paper towel and then press down. And once you get those put in place, use your cookie remover and you get it off your platform, and you're ready for the next step. This is the first card I did, and as you can see, there's a huge difference. The second one I'm making is more vibrant than the first. I really like that. I could have even gone more vibrant still, but now I've decided to add in some embellishments with some drawing. You'll need a mechanical pencil and a Micron pen at 0.3. I use pencil a lot because I get nervous about drawing something that I've made, and that I really like, and I don't want to mess it up. If you mess up with any kind of graphite, you can just erase it, so you're not ruining your project. So that's why I lots of times reach for a pencil. Now I am left-handed here, so I apologize in advance if I block you from being able to see anything. But as you can tell, what I'm doing is I'm using the openings or the V shapes on these backdrop vines to act as the bottom portion of the heart. And once you get all those drawn in and you really like what you see, you can go back over those lines with your Micron pen. And like I said, I'm using a 0.03 nib so that it's not as thick for the lines. I'm just going in here, going over the pencils, and I've decided that it needs more. So I started drawing these little tendrils coming out with little loops at the end of each tendril. And it's so fun because it's mimicking the backdrop. So these look like little flying hearts, and the fairy is just part of all these flying around hearts, and she's grabbed onto one of the plants and she's sending lots of love. So that's what this is all about. I'm inking in these little tendrils, and once I get those all inked in, I'm going to go back in with a Copic marker, and that Copic marker is going to be the same maroon-like color as the other stamps were done in. This way it gives it really great contrast, brings a lot of life to your backdrop, and brings it all together. Instead of her looking like she's kind of floating on top, now it looks like she's floating within this wonderful scene that you've created. So here it is, all done. I didn't want to bore you with me inking in all of my hearts and tendrils with my Copic marker. So I used the brush end of the nib, and I went very slow and careful. And it's RB69 for the color, and that's what I used. You can use any colors you like, and when you're all done, you can add some embellishments. But I decided that I wanted to add some wavy lines as though it were stamped by the post office, and I also wanted to add dots. So here's some dots that I did with the Copic marker. And then there are the wavy lines. They're in pencil right now, so I'd make sure I didn't mess up. I also added a dotted circle, and there it is. Again, in pencil, and when I decided I liked it, I went over it with the Micron pen. Those wavy lines are really easy. You just create your first wavy line, gentle slopes, kind of stretched out, and then you do another line right next to it or underneath it, and you make sure it's the same distance. You're going to do 5 of those lines, having them all equal distance to one another. And I'm going over the circle, and the spaces between the dotted lines in the circle I fill with just a single black dot. I have no idea why I did it. I just thought that it needed it and I liked it, so there you go. That's what it looks like. It still needed more, so I decided to add the number 5 down here in the corner so that it costs 5 cents on this postage. Once I get this inked in, maybe you have a stamp, a number 5 stamp. There are some number stamps from Bello's designs that are great. They're circle stamps, and they have numbers inside of them. You could always use that if you wanted to, or any other stamp that you might have that has a number, or you could just draw it by hand. I colored it in with a Copic marker so it matched the backdrop. In my first card, I used some gemstones. I'm going to be adding a few here, but I didn't want to add them in color, so they're clear gemstones. Before I do that, I decided to shade that a little bit with some pencil. And once I got all of the shading done and I liked it, then I added the gemstones. You just need a little bit of clear glue. And this was what it would look like if you did decide to add the matte, and the matte's bigger. Then it looks like this, which looks really nice. But I decided to not use the matte at all because it really pops that white against the front. It's a dramatic pop of color. This way, if you're not sure, you can move it along and compare and see which one you like better. And this one has the black behind it, where you can't see it on the edges, just behind it. This one, I've decided not to have it at all. So if you decide you want it, you would just glue the black to the back, and that way you make sure you don't get any glue through the holes. And then you go on to the next step, which is what I'm about to show you. I didn't ink the card at all. I don't want to, because it's going to make it pop more. So what you do is you take your card front at this point, and you're going to flip it upside down. And those scissors there, oh my gosh, those are non-stick scissors. If you don't have any, trust me, you want them. They're amazing. But here's some foam tape. It's double-sided foam tape. I'm just putting tape in each square, And I'm doing this in such a way so I don't cover up the dots that are already cut out. I don't want the foam to show. But I do want the entire piece to pop off the back of the card base. So it has some 3-dimension and some weight to it. Foam tape adds weight to your card, which makes it feel luxurious and really, really special. I use my little pick tool, and I'm able to take off the cover pieces on the tape. And once you get all these little pieces off, then you can mount it to your card base. One more left to go, and there we go. Okay, bring in the card base, find which side looks best to you, and then how do I know where to put it down? Go by your corners. Your corners should be equal distance, and once they are, then you can put it down, and then you have a finished card. I love this card. Absolutely love this card. This one is nice, but this one's my favorite. I'm going to add just a couple of those gemstones I told you about. In 3 places, I work in 3s. I'm using my jewel picker with this. It's a squishy end. It's slightly sticky, and I use the bigger end. It usually picks them up really, really well. So I got my gemstones out. I'm just getting some clears out. There's one. That's the largest one. And then I'm going to get the next size down. I just need 2 of those. And you could use whatever you want. Maybe you don't want any at all, or maybe you want some glitter. That would work too. Putting in just a few dots of the clear glue. This is by Aleene. And I'm going to grab the largest one, and it's going to go in that guy right there. And then the next one's going to go right there. And last one up here. And I am calling it done. Yes, I love this card so much. And the person you make it for, they're going to absolutely adore it. So that's it. Love and hugs to you. Bye-bye.